Colin Rugg on X. New metadata from the raw Jeffrey Epstein prison video was, this is a quote, likely modified, according to a new report from Wired magazine. I guess it's just now Wired. The outlet says they analyzed the 10-hour prison video with independent video forensics experts who concluded the raw footage was indeed modified. The outlet emphasized that at the moment, there is no evidence that the footage was deceptively manipulated in any way, but it says it was modified to some extent. Rather than being a direct export of the prison's surveillance system, the footage was modified, likely using the professional editing tool Adobe Premiere Pro, Wired found. So hold on. They're saying there's no evidence the footage was deceptively manipulated, but then they follow that up with saying it was likely edited with Adobe Premiere Pro. Why else would you need to edit that if it's not for nefarious purposes? But anyways, I digress. The file appears to have been assembled from at least 2 source clips, saved multiple times, exported, and then uploaded to the DOJ's website, where it was presented as raw footage, which this is the wild thing. I guess there's metadata that's saved, not just with photos, but with videos as well, where if you have the tools to go into the background and find more information on the video, it actually saves this additional layer of data that can tell you where it came from and if it's a copy of something and all these other little factoids that are just saved in a metadata portion of the video that most people don't see. Experts caution that it's unclear what exactly was changed and that the metadata does not prove deceptive manipulation. The development comes as Deputy Director of the FBI Dan Bongino reportedly took the day off today after clashing with AG Pam Bondi over the handling of the prison footage. And there's been an update to this where I believe he is retiring or stepping down unless Pam Bondi steps down, which she said she's not going to. So here is just a clip of that footage. And there was 1 minute missing from this footage, which is crazy in its own right. But then to find out that it gets stitched together on Adobe Premiere Pro and rendered multiple different times before being uploaded and presented as raw footage, you're not fooling anyone. It's just more lies. Why would anyone believe anything that the government is sending out there when it comes to the Epstein stuff specifically? And this comes to us from Wired. This is the article that was being referenced. Metadata shows the FBI's raw Jeffrey Epstein prison video was likely modified. And they keep talking about how there's no evidence that it was deceptively manipulated, but ambiguities around how the video was processed may further fuel conspiracy theories about Epstein's death. My conspiracy theory, and I've made this abundantly clear, is I do not believe he's dead. I know that's crazy, but it's really not, especially if you consider the surrounding circumstances with this gentleman. And it's one of those pay-for articles, but talking about Justice Department released nearly 11 hours, what's described as a full raw surveillance footage from camera position near Jeffrey Epstein's prison cell the night before he's found dead. The release was intended to address the conspiracy theories about Epstein's apparent suicide in federal custody, but instead of putting those suspicions to rest, it may have fueled them further. So, yeah, that is the story for this situation. It's insulting that they thought the American people are dumb enough to fall for this lie. And Colin said, this should have been handled completely differently. The Epstein case is one of the most sensitive topics in our country. And instead of carefully and thoughtfully releasing information, we got a bizarre memo and an extremely questionable video footage. And we also got a bizarre response from Trump dismissing, like it's not a big deal, just move on from it. And people are like, what? I thought this was one of like the points you were running on. There should be no reason for the video to have been modified. It's like tampering with evidence. They could have simply been splicing the two clips together and saving them. However, if that's the case, you have to be careful labeling it raw. Well, not only that, they need to just what would be the issue with just being honest with people and saying, hey, the way it saves footage is in 12-hour increments. We have this 12 hours and we have this 12 hours. And for your convenience, we have stitched them together, but that's just full transparency. That's how it saves the data. Now, people would still definitely have their, I wouldn't really change my conspiracy theory, but at least I'd be like, at least our government is being honest about that. And when they can't do that, it's like, man, what can you trust them on? Also, this is one of the most sensitive cases in the last year where tons of conspiracy theories are already floating around. They should have been much more careful with how this was released and shared. And this guy said, as a person who does a massive amount of forensic analysis of digital media, this information is related to EXIF data on the video file likely. Carelessness and mishaps are unfortunately the most likely explanation here. You are spot on about what the editing is and labeling it raw. Yeah, this is just more fuel for conspiracy theories because there's a clear lie here or purposeful deception, and people are going to form less trust in the government over that. There needs to be transparency from this administration. Do you think we'll get it? If we don't get transparency over Epstein with this administration, we will never get it. And I think we already know we are never going to get it. Another conspiracy that'll be proven true in a couple of years. Minute missing, wrong cell footage. The footage from the camera pointing at the real cell wasn't working. Guards who are supposed to check on him fall asleep. Bizarre memo gets released. And then we're told to forget and move on. I'm telling you, like the worst part about this entire situation is the whole Pam Bondi and Donald Trump just reckless disregard for the truth, or to obtaining the truth or getting the truth out there. It's just very, very weird. I don't know if there's a better word for it except just strange how they're handling something that was like, oh, the Epstein files are on my desk. Yep, we're going to release them tomorrow, which I didn't believe. And I even said that the night that they were doing that. I'm like, yeah, that's not happening. And it didn't. And then they were, fast forward to now, oh, there never were Epstein files. What were we talking about before? Oh, I misspoke. So I was like, everything this whole administration is doing right now with this in relation to the Epstein throws everything into question with them, which is truly tragic because it's one of those things that's like, I would love to defend Trump, but I can't do that because when you do stuff like this, I'm out, bro. Like I will not try to just run defense for you and be like, oh, people don't understand what Trump's doing here. He's actually got a plan with this. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He's covering his own ass right now. And it's so obvious. And the problem is everyone is involved with it. And it turns into like tinfoil hat. Oh my God. Everyone on both sides is so guilty that no one will ever release this footage or information or the Epstein files or list or anything getting out there because there's so many people so in deep with this situation that they're just hoping this just goes away. And the only time they'll ever bring it up or care about it to talk about it is 200 years from now when they're all dead and gone from this planet. That's the only time they're going to care about this getting out there. Sorry to save it for the 5-banger. It's possible that they use Premiere to convert to another format too, but if you tell me the government lied, you don't have to try hard to convince me. Well, the problem is they are trying to tell people it was the raw footage. Why would you need to upload raw footage to Adobe multiple times, stitch it together multiple times, re-render it, and push it out there as is implied here multiple times instead of just release the footage? What? And why is there a minute missing? And why is there no footage of his cell? Like there's so many questions where it's just like, this is too convenient. This is too convenient. And nobody in the government, by the way, do you notice nobody seems to care to investigate it? No one seems to care to find out what happened or get to the bottom of it. They're just like, yeah, no, shit happens. I guess that's the problem. It's too bad. But anyways, I'll leave that one there.